Sleigh Bells by Sleeplessness. Hey guys, I chose a really fucking bad time to move house. I only just discovered this subreddit maybe a month ago and I haven't been sure how to properly explain what happened. So let's start with the fact that I'm from New Zealand. We went into full lockdown back in March, which unfortunately meant that I was scrambling to get everything moved into my new home. I won't tell you what town I moved to for obvious reasons, but it was more than 2 hours away from my family and my son's father. He was a cruel man and I took the abuse for as long as I could, but once he started hurting our child, that was the end of the line. For the sake of this post, we'll call my son Tristan. He's only 7, so he's old enough to know what's going on, but too young to know how to cope with everything. He was nervous to start at a new school, so hey, at least lockdown meant I could homeschool him while we transitioned to a new home. Once lockdown was announced to start on the 25th of March, the movers basically took everything they could to our new house, dumped it inside, and then went home to their own families. It wasn't until the movers had left that I found the note inside the medicine cabinet in the bathroom. It was a note from the landlord, and while I was confused as to why it was in such an odd place, I decided not to question it. I'll type out as much of the note as I feel comfortable sharing with you all. Also, near the end of the note, it suddenly was much more scribbled and rushed. But here it is. Dear Mrs. Welcome to the neighborhood. I would have liked to be there to help you in person, but my wife is very high risk, so it's not really worth the possibility of getting her sick, which I hope you understand. You might find some of the things I'm about to tell you very strange, but I hope you'll take these things seriously. Again, it would have been better to do this face to face to show you proof, but until lockdown is over, I'm going to need you to take my word for it. Do not open the windows at night, no matter how hot it gets. You'll see that all but the master bedroom windows have been sealed shut. Do not tamper with them. Do not let your son near them, and lock and bolt both the front and back doors at night. Do not think you can get away with just locking it. You can't. I found this very frustrating. If you're from places like America, it probably sounds like it's not a big deal, but we don't generally have AC here, so it gets very, very hot. Thank God I have a fan to put in both of our bedrooms. And on the opposite note, do not unblock the fireplace. Keep the chimney blocked at all times. Buy a gas heater or something, I don't care, just don't unblock the fireplace. Between 2 and 4 a.m. you may hear a bell ringing loudly outside. Do not open the doors or windows, and do not tell the man ringing it to stop. Don't speak to him at all, actually. It's okay to look out the window if you're really curious, but I'd advise against it. You might not like what you see. This is where his handwriting started to get very sloppy. He also used another color pen, which I found odd. It didn't look like the other one was running out, but I guess he could have written more when he arrived at the house. Relate to the previous point, there is a man who sometimes walks around the neighborhood while the bells ring. We call him Nick because we believe he thinks he's Santa Claus. All year round he wears a Santa costume and sings Christmas carols while the bell rings. Do not confront him. Do not let him in, no matter how loud his singing is or what he says. Once again, I must reinforce, do not open the windows, doors, or unblock the chimney. There's also a tear at the bottom of the letter, like you wrote more but suddenly decided the letter didn't need it. I can see the words, fire doesn't and that's it. So I put a few essential things away, set up our 2 beds in our new rooms, and naturally, we ate pizza sitting on cushions on the floor next to our extremely reinforced fireplace. It's just completely covered in a thick metal sheet screwed into the edges of the brick. I don't know how or why it's like this, but I get it, don't unblock the fucking fireplace. The rest of the note about Nick and his stupid bell didn't make any sense to me. A bell at night, I knew we lived close to a school, maybe the bell there has some issues and goes off sometimes at night. Anyway, it was summer when we moved, and true to the note, the windows were completely sealed the whole way around except for my room. So we relied on our crappy little desk fans to keep us cool at night. I think the first time I heard the bells was our third night there. I mean, they may have gone off the previous 2 nights, but both Tristan and I were extremely tired from all the moving and unpacking, and I honestly don't think you could have woken me with a bucket of water splashed on my face. So yeah, at 2 AM this fucking ringing starts. It wasn't like one of those small bells you can carry around, or even a regular school bell either. It sounded like it belonged in Notre Dame or something. Just deep, heavy ringing. Luckily for me, Tristan is a heavy sleeper no matter what, so it didn't wake him, but 2 hours listening to this bullshit was a nightmare for me. Sometime just before 4 AM it stopped and I was able to get a few more hours of sleep. Then Nick started his singing 3 nights later. First the stupid bell, bong, bong, bong. And then I hear his high-pitched, reedy voice start to sing. At first I thought it was just a typical Christmas carol. But once I could actually hear him over the ringing, his choice of lyrics chilled me to my core. Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? When they ring, will you be sleeping? Oh, what a beautiful sight, Santa will be in your house tonight. Just come and take my hand. The song continued with small twists to lines that creeped me out. I wanted to call the police, and I honestly would have, except with quarantine, they're stretched thin enough as it is, with idiots breaking the lockdown laws. As far as I could tell, Nick was out there on his own, so it's not like he could be arrested for that. So I just left him and his fucked up lyrics, blocking my ears with cotton wool. When I checked on Tristan, he was fast asleep and I figured we'd be okay. I think about a month went by before the cold really hit and we needed to start bundling up. It was unfortunate because we actually didn't have a working heater, and honestly, the insulation in the house was pretty shit, considering all the windows were sealed up. We couldn't go just buy a new heater either because there wasn't anywhere open for us to buy one. Furthermore, only essentials were being sent through the post, which apparently did not include something that would keep us warm. Tristan got sick at least 3 times during that month, and when I checked my phone one day towards the end of April, the weather report promised me a cold snap overnight. I couldn't handle the stress of my son getting sick again, okay? I just couldn't. So I figured, hey, I'll unblock the fireplace, make a nice warm fire, and then around midnight I'll make sure it's all out, block up the chimney again, and go to bed. It'll be fine, and at least Tristan will be warm. So that's what I did. There was actually a ton of firewood left in the shed in the backyard. I don't know why they're so stocked up, considering it looks like the fireplace had been blocked for months on end. I was able to get the metal sheet off by undoing the screws with a drill, and soon enough we had a lovely warm fire going. It was strange though, because when I went outside to grab extra wood, I looked up and down our street and no one else had their fires going. I figured the whole block the fireplace bullshit was our landlord being weird about us having a fire going in our home. In fact, the neighbor to the left of us was looking out her, also sealed, window and mouthing something to me. I couldn't figure out what it was, but she looked pretty pale and scared. I put Tristan to bed at his usual time, and he was pretty much out like a light. I settled myself in front of the fire with a book and figured I'd get a couple hours reading in before I went to bed myself. This is where I fucked up, okay? You may be thinking, hey lady, no, you fucked up by unblocking the fireplace. But look, we were cold. Maybe he should have made it harder to unblock the fireplace? Maybe the landlord should have stuffed the whole fucking chimney with shit to really make sure I couldn't do it. Maybe he should have left us a heater, but no. And you know what happened? I fell asleep. It was exactly 2:13 a.m. when I was woken from my peaceful, warm slumber by Tristan tugging on my sweater.
Mama, there's a really loud ringing outside, and this weird singing as well,
he informed me, his huge blue eyes still half closed. I sighed deeply. Here, Baba, I'll tuck you back into bed, okay? We'll put an audiobook on for you, and maybe then you can sleep. He shook his head vehemently.
Can I sleep in your room instead?
He begged. It was very rare for him to want to sleep in my bed, even when he lived with his father. I honestly think my ex probably scolded Tristan whenever he tried to wake us up when he had a nightmare. He often insisted on being the one to put our son back to bed. Yeah, of course, baby. Just give me a second. I quickly doused the ashes and removed them from the fireplace before putting the metal sheet back in place. Before you ask, yes, I actually screwed it back into place. I didn't just lay it on there. While I was doing that though, not even the sound of the drill could drown out today's song.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me one very young boy. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 very sharp knives and a young boy. On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 3 open windows.
There was more, but I made it a point not to listen. There was still plenty of warmth in my room, so we both hopped into bed and pulled the blankets close around us. Tristan snuggled down and yawned, reaching his hand out to hold mine.
Hey, Mama,
he asked, staring up at me. A part of my subconscious noticed the bell getting steadily louder. Yes, sweet pea? Tristan's face suddenly broke out into a grin. Not his normal grin, it makes your heart melt. It looked like he was stretching all the way to his ears, even though I knew that wasn't possible.
He wants to know if
you're
sleeping.